Hey everyone, how's it going? Good to see everybody out there. Without further ado, let me announce Phil Blake to the stage here. And how you doing,
Hey,
Phil?
what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm
I'm
doing
great.
all
I'm great.
right. Awesome, man. So happy to have you. First off, thank you for coming here and going live with us.
Of course.
So I'm really happy to have you. And what we're trying to do is give as much value to the Facebook group as well as my YouTube channel as much as possible, and kind of go from there. So, um, you know, so first off, what I'm gonna do is, hey, who are you? What do you do? How did you get started? And a little bit about how you got started and where you're at right now. Just a quick summary. We'll get into the deep, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm Philip Blake. I'm the owner of Stride Investment Group, where we started as just wholesalers, but we wholesale, we burn properties, we do some commercial stuff, both with apartments and then fast food restaurants. A lot of times people throw out like the fact that we did 100 deals starting 2019, and we kind of kept it up. But the volume is really not that important to me, if you ask me. Um, how did I get started? I started back in 2013 from a buddy of mine who had a mentor in his life, just reading a couple of books, and it was a 1031 exchange book. And it kind of really just started from there. So I've been doing this a long time. I started off getting a mentor to be able to level up step by step. So
How did you first? So you said you got started by reading a 1031 exchange book.
mhm.
Let's go into detail a little bit about your process, your journey of how you got started.
Okay. Well, the book wasn't anything special. I actually don't even remember the name of it. What it was
Okay.
is, like I said, it was a buddy of mine who someone in his life told him like about real estate, having rental properties. So he just happened to get this 1031 exchange book. And it wasn't just that book, but I think that was like the first book that we read.
Yep.
Later in life, ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which actually helped things click a lot more. But that was the book that was like, oh, okay, you can do this to not pay taxes, and on
Yeah.
real estate, creating the most millionaires
Oh
and
yeah.
all this type of stuff. So it was kind of just, I didn't get bit by the bug right at once. It was just little bits and pieces. So really in 2013 was all just learning for me. And it wasn't the
Okay.
entire year. I think I started maybe halfway through and was just learning, like reading some books. Okay, found some guys that I want to follow on social media, or it's not certain, but like YouTube and YouTube University, and just seeing who I resonate with. And then as I watched them, I learned more and more about what is possible, some of the how, and ultimately end up taking the leap with one of them to be able to go deeper and really learn how to do the business on a high level.
That's awesome. How did you get a hold of that mentor? Did you pay for that mentor? Like, because there's different processes. You can grab a mentor by relationships. You can grab a mentor by paying for one. How did you
100%.
come across that?
All right, so that's good points, good questions. So we can go over about some of the different ways to find a mentor. For me, like I said, I went to YouTube University and just saw who was talking about doing deals, and I just really just picked someone who resonated most with me. First, just went out on the YouTube. I think it was like 2 or 3 different people that I was like, okay. I was watching their stuff pretty consistently, and then there was one that I gravitated towards more. So I was just looking for opportunities. I don't actually think he was doing maybe he was doing like a big coaching thing. I'm trying to remember, but I remember I got in touch with him because he's on YouTube, and then ultimately I did pay. I paid him some money. It's like at the end of the day, you got to pay at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna say that it's all like has to be payment like cash, but you have to pay, right? You're gonna have to pay with your pocket. You're gonna pay with your time, pay with your feet,
Yeah.
your activity. So
Oh yeah.
and at the time, I'm working full time and actually in school full time, so I had some extra money to be able to pay him, but I was still skeptical about it actually.
Oh, you got started with doing the mentoring. You mentioned you were in school. What were you in school for?
Oh, so good. I guess to give you a little bit of background, so I'm a mechanical engineer. That's what I went to school for. I actually got hired as the mechanical engineer before I actually graduated. So that's just one of the principles, like doing more than what you're paid for. And
Yep.
this is like, you're hearing me talk a lot about different principles and stuff that apply to just success in general, not just real estate, just business, life. And at this time, that was just something I was used to doing. I would always put forth a lot more energy, a lot more effort to getting the right outcomes. So anyway, the company I was working for, they saw that, offered me the job before I graduated. So I was actually still in school getting my degree, but actually kind of doing the work at the same time. So anyway, that's a long answer to, I was in school for mechanical engineering.
How much schooling do you need to actually do this and to do what me and you are doing? Would you say that a new person should need or should do?
I'll put it like this. I'm in one of the groups that I'm in. I was actually just looking at this like maybe 30 minutes ago. It's a girl. She's 16 and she's closing her first deal November 14th. And this she's gonna flip it. So you don't need a college degree for sure. I mean, even in some thoughts, I even think about it like, man, I probably wasted too many years. It took me like 6.5 years to graduate, partially because so we could talk about that, but I was actually interning and co-op throughout the entire year. So I was semester on, semester off. But ultimately, it took me like 6.5 years, and I didn't, when I look back on it, I was like, man, if I actually would have started like where I started at like 23, 22, at that time, I mean, we all can say it, but I'm like, I would have been significantly further ahead. Even if I went to college for a year and just kind of messed around with it and learned about, maybe getting some rental properties, something like that. But at that time, I had no clue. It was not even a thought in my mind at all, so.
No, so you run a wholesaling business as well as an investment business, basically. So you do buy and holds, you do wholesales, you do regular wholesaling as well in your business.
Yep. We didn't start there, but yeah.
Right. So tell me where you started in the business and where you're at right now.
So again, as I said, when I started, at least in my mind, it was all just wholesale. I was looking for that quick dollar. How can I make some money on a deal? Oh, it's supposed to be, people say wholesale and they think easy, simple, as whatever. So that's what I was focused on. My first mentor actually taught me not to, like, we didn't just, like, right now we have a system, and I'll talk about that as far as scale, and it's set to be able to wholesale deals, and we tacked on the other stuff at the back end. But when we set up, it was, initially I wasn't doing all of that. I was get a deal, figure out the situation, what's going on, and figure out which box it can fit into. Is it a creative deal, some type of seller finance deal potential? Should we be wholesaling it, doing a little work, put on the market? Is it just a wholesale deal? Like, he would have us fit it into those boxes. So that was really like the first couple of years, one man show, just doing it. But then as I learned, it's easier to scale when you ultra focused on one thing. So we've been primarily just wholesalers. Like, hey, this is what we do. We wholesaling properties. And as we got really good at that, got systems and process, people and stuff in place to do that well, we can tack on these other models, whether it's seller finance or burst strategy, etc.
How did you get how did you develop those processes? And can you talk a little bit about them? You don't have to go in detail. That's up to you how detailed or how much you want to talk about your processes. Because I think that would help some of our audience here, as far as whether, even if you're a new wholesaler or a current wholesaler just trying to develop their processes at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say a few different things on that. So your first question was, where did I develop the processes? So after that first mentor, he taught me how to invest and do deals, but I didn't have anything really streamlined. Everything was just always different every single time. So once I had 3 or 4, 5 deals I was working on at one time, I was pulling my hair out. Man, I got to do this. I'm busy. I'm working at school. It was like, dude, and it was very stressful up here because it utilizes a lot of the RAM in your brain. Hence why now I put everything in like Evernote or OmniFocus, some type of external brain, to keep track of stuff. Otherwise I forget. But the point is, that's where it was. But so a few years into investing, I realized, like, man, last time I had a big step was when I got a mentor. So I started listening to some podcasts. Came across this one podcast. Long story short, ended up joining this mastermind. It was like $30K or $25K, which was a lot, right? That was a big deal for me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to just, just throw it out there like, oh, it's whatever. No, and actually we were making money, but it
Yep.
was like, it was still a lot. So when I spent that, I was like, oh man, I gotta get this right, man. You know what I mean? Because I really didn't have it to spend like that. So I'm like, all right, we got to make it work. So anyway, that investment ended up paying off tremendously. I'm still actually a part of that mastermind. But where did I get the processes? Really, a lot of it was just really copying and being around the right people. Once you're around the right people, people are givers. You ever heard of the go-giver mentality?
No, I haven't.
It's a book. Just read. It's called Go Giver. The Go Giver.
Okay.
Excellent book. But basically, it's talking about living in a state of abundance. Actually, I might even have it behind me somewhere. But living in a state of abundance. And what I find is that the further you go up, the more people are willing to give. The biggest thing is was getting in the room, because once you're in this room, everybody in there, you know, is serious. Everyone in there is pre-qualified, so people are more willing to give information because we're all peers. We're all thinking on the same frequency. So, okay, I know that if you're in this room, you're not just somebody who's right here to waste my time or whatever. You guys, we're all serious. So anyway, a lot of people willing to help. They're sharing resources. So I took bits and pieces of people's systems and kind of constructed it into what I thought what works well, which is what got us to where we're at today. So that's where I got our process. You want me to go over what our process looks like?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Actually, I mean, it's nothing really, like, it's super simple, but I guess sometimes there's wisdom in simplicity. So virtual wholesale model. So we virtual wholesale deals. I remember it must have been 2019, because that's when we started doing virtual deals. But we did a virtual deal. It was literally right across the street from my parents' house, and I never went there. So that was pretty funny. And it happens all the time now. Like, it's deals that's like 10 minutes away. Some of the guys, hopefully, I don't know, they may be in your group, but they give me flack for not going to properties. And,
yeah, I know one of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He gives me a hard time. But so it's a virtual model. So we don't go to properties. We lock up all deals over the phone. We do. I take it back. We go to properties. We don't go to properties until after we have a contract in place, because that just allows us to be more efficient, right? It was a time when I thought, a lot of people say, oh, I got to get in front of you, belly to belly. I can close much better, which in fact, I actually agree with. That if you in front of someone and we're on the phone with them, you probably could build revenue rapport, you can do et cetera if you're a good salesman, and you probably win that deal. Where the over the phone thing kicks in is we make up for with volume, right? And then also makes things like hiring and all this other stuff a lot easier, because you can hire talent from all over the country. But the big thing is, like, if you look at an acquisitions rep, some of the guys, like, if you're going on deals right now and that's all you do all day, you may be able to go on to 4 to 5 appointments in one day. And that's a packed day. 30 minutes driving, probably an hour and a half with the seller, and then 30 minutes to wherever else you got to go next. Like, that's a packed day. So even if you close at a 25-30% ratio, which is that's a really good salesman at 25-30%.